And it's time for Uncancelled, where Britain's top commentators speak out on controversial issues without the fear of the cancel culture sweeping the rest of the media. 15 years ago, the world of spies, shadowy government agencies and state-sponsored assassinations previously limited to the big screen suddenly became all too real. The case of Alexander Litvinenko, the former KGB officer turned Kremlin critic who was poisoned on British soil after defecting, shocked the entire world. After penning 2 bombshell books in which he accused Russian secret services of murdering a journalist and carrying out terrorist acts in order to bring Vladimir Putin to power, Alexander drank from a teapot laced with polonium-210, a radioactive element that is 250 billion times more toxic than cyanide and is fatal in quantities as small as a speck of dust. 22 days after falling ill, Alexander tragically passed away, but not before releasing images of his ravaged body so the world would never forget what happened to him. For almost a decade after his death, his widow, Marina, battled with the government, including then Home Secretary Theresa May, for a public inquiry into his death, which in 2016 ruled the operation by Russia's Federal Protective Service was probably approved by Putin. Having fought for the truth, Marina is now dedicated to keeping Alexander's story alive and has given her blessing for an opera about his life and death. It opens in Surrey tomorrow. Here's a little preview. Marina has also continued speaking out against dark forces in her and Alexander's former homeland, especially in the wake of the 2018 Salisbury poisoning, which claimed the life of a British citizen. And Marina, it's great to have you here tonight. I think it's so important that we continue to talk about what happened to your husband. We should never forget it. How do you think things have changed since his death? Have they got better or worse when it comes to the bad actors in Russia?
First of all, good evening. Thank you very much for having me night before opera will take place in the Grand Park Opera. But I would like to mention some very important moment. You said a former KGB officer. Yes, it's right. But not only. Sasha was British citizen when he was poisoned.
Indeed.
And I think why it's after 15 years, this story became more and more accepted people here in United Kingdom. Why interested to what happened in 2006, started like a play, what was in 2019 in the stage of the Old Vic. Now it's an opera. And it might be going to be a movie.
Wow. Wow. And I guess your goal, Marina, is to keep everyone talking about what happened to your husband so that the West keeps the pressure on Russia.
I would say maybe a little bit in a different way. Of course, is this what happened to us, but it's mostly answers to question why. What happened to Russia for last 20 years, not even 15, since my husband, Alexander Litvinenko, was killed? Why all promises, what was happened to Russia after 1991 when Soviet Union was collapsed and everybody decided people would be very happy to live in a democratical country with a justice system, with everything. But now we're more talking about sanctions against Russia. Because it's not only war against Georgia, against Ukraine, now we're talking about cyber crime, and it's a lot of negative things happened in a connection to Russia. And every time when we have this discussion, why, I would like to take you back to 2006.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, so are we too weak? Is the British government too weak? I mean, look at what happened in 2018. I mean, it happened again.
I have a very interesting experience. Since it all happened, British government changed, not just once, a few times. And every time when we had a new leader, everybody wanted to have a good relationship to Russia and to Mr. Putin because they believed it's worse to have good relationship. I agree. Russia is a great country and have business communication, culture communication. It's a very important. But you every time need to understand why it's not happened with previous leader. Why it did not happen with Tony Blair or Gordon Brown, with David Cameron? Because it was the same presentation of Russia state, Vladimir Putin and his government, and everything what they wanted to play their rules. And this, I would say, you are not weak, but you think you try to be, how to say, intelligent and good educated. But unfortunately, it doesn't work to this present government in Russia.
Well, no, I mean, you call it now a mafia state, Marina, and I guess that was proven yet again with the poisoning of the Russian opposition politician Alexei Navalny. What did you make of that event?
This is another proof how is a state. I don't say is a country. I always mention Russia is a beautiful country with a great history, with a culture, with people, everything. But when we're talking about Russia state, you already mentioned it's like a mafia state. And this was what happened to Alexei Navalny. It's again, is just a top of an iceberg for what happened to another people in Russia. Maybe we don't know their name. But Alexei Navalny, as a leader of opposition, he is now in prison and he almost died when he was taking action as a hunger strike. But the same people are keeping in a prison because they disagree with Putin's ideology or with Putin's politics, and they want to be elected to Russian parliament. But only for this wish, they be easily arrested or pushed out from country, or it's anything might happen to them now.
So how will Putin be finished off? What needs to happen to get Putin out of power, in your opinion?
It's so interesting. It's not only yours question. It's a lot of people in Russia who still brave to talk about this when one day Putin will be finished. First of all, we need to understand we are all physically one day could die. And Putin is not young. Even he tried to look good and healthy. But anyway, he is...
And there have been question marks around his health.
Yes, but again, he's very close to his 70, and it might be a lot of problem. But I always try to mention it's not only about Putin. And what my husband Sasha tried to prevent, not to allow this system, what we called a security service criminal system, became in power, what we actually have in Russia now. And this is all not only about Putin, who would be successor and who will take after him. And this is, unfortunately, not very optimistic prognosis, because it might be even worse before it became better in Russia.
Indeed, indeed. Well, look, Marina, I've got my panel here with me, Calvin Robinson, Dominique Samuels and Daisy McAndrew. Daisy, do you have a question for Marina?
Yes, Marina, I'd love to know your view. Obviously, you've spoken to Dan about what the British government should have done and to be firmer on this. But I'd love to know about this idea that we've been living, particularly in London for many years, with a sort of McMafia, as the TV show called it, where a lot of very rich Russians launder their money here in the UK. And I just wonder if you think that is a problem and whether that's something that really the tax office or the Treasury needs to get a grip on, because with that money that comes into the UK comes huge power.
You're absolutely right. First of all, good evening, and thank you for your question, because it was what my husband Sasha concerned about. When since 2003 Russian money just flown to London, to UK, and everybody, here in UK, accept it and say it's just good. It's a good for our economy. It's a good for relationship. But Sasha tried to explain what the kind of money and how it would be difficult to people to resist when you will be asking to do something what it doesn't look lawful. But then, before 2006, everybody been very happy accepting this money. But most difficult moment happened after 2010, because policy from Russia was not only invest money to British economy, it was invest money to politics. And we know how many supporters or Russian donors been involved to political parties.
Indeed. Calvin Robinson?
Yeah, so it seems to have been a long time since the very terrible killing of your husband. For us, maybe not so much for you. But have we made progress since then in this area? And if not, what needs to be done?
We complete everything what he could do this. Justice, kind of justice, because we couldn't take any people who committed this crime. Andrei Lugovoy, Dmitry Kovtun, and it was 100% proof they really killed my husband using radioactive polonium. But Russian government said they've never been extradited because it is not constitutional right to extradite people from Russia for justice. But I know...
Oh no, we seem to have just lost Marina. I'm not sure if we can get her back. Just while we're trying to do that, the life of... Oh, you're back, Marina. Sorry, we just lost you briefly. Continue.
Yes, I'm here. I would say everything what we could do finished by public inquiry. And I was very glad because we could provide all information and show to people, yes, who behind of this crime. And even more, what you said, highly likely it was proved by Mr. Putin and former director of FSB, Nikolai Patrushev. But I really believe people who committed this crime, Lugovoy and Kovtun, one day would be catched and brought for justice to UK. I believe one day not only crime against my husband, Alexander Litvinenko, but against another countries like Ukraine, like Georgia, and other people, Alexei Navalny, will bring Vladimir Putin for justice. And this is, I understand, and I will support if one day it will happen.
Dominique Samuels.
We have President Biden now in America, and there's been a lot of speculation about how well prepared he is actually to counter Putin. And I was just wondering your thoughts on that. Do you think President Biden is strong enough to counter Putin, or do you think, the Western world would need a stronger leader?
For almost 10 years when I fight for justice, and I believe it was absolutely right things to do. And I learned a lot. And I heard many times about politics and political reasons or economical reasons to give my case light or stop it. And I realized sometimes economical and business reasons became in the first position. For Biden now, it may be not a good relationship, but at least some relationship. And everything what he tried to do with Mr. Putin, it's to work together in a global problem, like climate change or cyber security, something like this. But not to go to a certain investment to a very serious security relationship. And I believe Biden understands for what he's doing. Sometimes it doesn't look very strong. But again, I hope these people are very professional, and Biden not the first year in the politics, and he works a lot, and he knows Russia since it was the Soviet Union. And I have some hope he understands what he's doing with Russia.
Welcome to the GB News YouTube channel. You can watch us live 24 hours a day, catch up on your favourite shows and join in the conversation in the comments below.
Don't forget to subscribe and you'll never miss any of our exclusive content.